Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more. Now, well, today, thankfully, Wendy's video is not playing up on us, so we can see her lovely face, which is a bonus. Um, yeah, we're going to talk about dragons. We've been talking about sort of various things, and dragons came up, and I think dragons are a really interesting topic. So,
Mm.
yeah.
I'm interested in the dragon topic as well. It's not something that is part of my own consciousness or practice or healing realm, if you like, but I do know people who speak dragon, and I know people who have had sort of visualizations and things where they've looked down and seen their feet as dragons. So, it's for me, a fascinating realm. I can't wait to hear your take on this whole area of dragons, Sarah. Where are you going to take us today?
Well, all over the place, to be frank with you, because dragon means various things. It really does, and it takes some sorting out and unpicking. Because at one level, it's a level of consciousness. It speaks to a level of consciousness. We have the great solar dragons, which are great levels of Rishic consciousness. Then we've got dragon energies in the land, which really to do with earth energies. We've got dragon lords, which can mean one of two things, and so on and so forth. So, I'll start. Where shall I start? Shall I start? Let's start at the highest level and come down to the lowest, as it were. Or come, start way out there in the universe, and we can come back down to Earth, as it were, and land and ground ourselves in dragons. Yeah, the solar dragons, what are called the solar dragons, are these great Rishic levels of consciousness. Now, from our point of view, within our time matrix or our universe, which is a 15-dimensional construct, these great levels of consciousness reside at the very top within the highest density there, which are dimensions 13, 14, and 15. But these solar dragon energies or consciousnesses or consciousness families also reside outside our universe, in the God worlds, reside outside our universe. So you will hear talk of dragon collectives and dragon energies and solar dragons and things from beyond, or dragon consciousness from beyond. I mean, I've just been writing today about the triluminary dragon consciousnesses of Aurora, so and that's a totally different universe to ours, and so on and so forth. So yes, so in this context, you're speaking about incredibly advanced levels of very high levels of consciousness, and they can embody a solar system. They can embody, great worlds and sectors of the galaxy. In fact, the whole structure, there is a level at which it could be argued that the whole structure of our universe is held within a dragon body. And these great levels of consciousness almost fragment themselves down through layers so that we can interact with them, or so that an aspect of a dragon consciousness will take up consciousness as a sun. For example, our sun is an aspect of a dragon consciousness. We have solar dragon lords. No, that's not the right word. We have solar dragon bodies, aspects of these solar dragon consciousnesses that are part of the light body of the earth, what
Okay.
called the albion. They work within the planetary body on certain things. And of course, whenever I'm saying solar dragon, I'm talking about a consciousness that is male female. It's one that so there's a male aspect and a female aspect that are in hierogamic union. So it's a perfectly balanced expression of the male female energies, or the electrical magnetic energies, or however you want to you want to look at it that way. So I mean, it was one of the things that I came to realize when I went to visit the Stargate. earlier this year, I think we might have talked about it at some point, you know, that this is a consciousness that's actually in the earth. It's of the earth and in the earth, as much as it's a physical artifact. And so these great consciousness beings, you know, it's like a part of them is here and a part of them in there, and a part of, you know, they're so vast and so powerful, and it's just beyond we can, you know, what we can imagine. That, you know, they've got lots of plates in the air is maybe a way of saying it. They're aspects of themselves are dealing with all sorts of things all over the place and helping to run bits and hold elements of structure and ensuring the correct running of this universe.
So what is their relationship then with, say, source energy as we describe it?
They are, it is through their consciousness that source currents come into this universe. So,
Wow,
so effectively, they're
bigger than source.
yeah. Well, they're you know, you've got source, and then it kind of steps itself down and steps itself down and steps itself down until it gets to our universe, and it's working through the consciousness families that have created this universe, and then it steps itself down into blood lineages and until it gets to little us, you know. So, you know, source is in everything. It's in everything. So it's yeah, I mean, the dragon consciousnus is within us as much as source is a source with it is within us. Is the way well, certainly I feel it. It'd be interesting. I haven't spoken to other people to see if they feel the same thing, but I'm very aware of you know, lineages traced back to certain solar dragon families, as it were, because we embody through that frequency or through that ray energy. So we just keep coming back to all is one, all is one. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, but that, you know, that truth becomes ever more apparent the higher up the scale you go with it, really.
so source emanates through dragon consciousness.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, massive. So that is very meta then. That's the
Yeah,
meta.
I mean, it's huge. Yeah.
So how does that sort of meta level dragon consciousness is the next step down the land dragons?
No, well, probably the next level to talk about it is within an embodied human being, and at that level, it's something that it's an indigo. That's the modern word for it.
Okay.
So you know, any of the indigos, the starseed lineages here will they'll trace back to an aspect of that. It's a stepped down. The indigos, the starseeds, what were called the Margie Grail lines, they're the same thing. If you look back at our history, you have the Margie Grail lines, who were very much the teachers. They were the embodied teachers and leaders of early humanity who brought through the source frequencies, who kept the planetary Templar, you know, the earth energies and ley lines and you know, within the earth harmonious, to ensure the harmony of the whole, that worked with the stargates and things like this. These are the great dragon consciousnesses that have embodied, a fragment of them has embodied into human form through a template that is capable of holding that level of frequency.
Okay.
A standard human template, not the starseed, the indigo, the Margie template, whatever you want to call it, would possibly blow some fuses. But because there is the greater capacity to hold frequency within the Margie templating, it's a means for a very high frequency consciousness to step itself down and into a lower density level.
Perfect.
So yeah, I mean, we're all fragments of the divine one way or the other. So
Yeah.
it's just a question of you know what the purpose is, what the mission and purpose is. and indigo, star seeds, the Margie Grail lines, however you want to phrase them. You know, we're all here to ensure that what happens this time round at this particular moment is the elevation of the earth, is the returning back to their true blueprint, the purity of their true blueprint, the entire human race. Should they make that choice, it's the it's the breaking free of the dark influence of the fallen races. You know, this moment that we're at now, who have done so much to digress and to damage not just the earth, but the human template as well, so that you know the potential of the human has been diminished, totally diminished. So you know, we're all here to ensure the successful completion of that mission. And so we, you know, whatever we're tasked to do and the templates that we hold relate to that, basically.
Beautiful. So where do we go next then, from the dragons through that human body form?
Well, the human body form, at one level, you can call the Dragon Lords. That was one of the name. Another of the names that they had is the Dragon Lords, because they held this dragon consciousness. That got hijacked, and a lot of the fallen races started to call themselves Dragon Lords when they were taking over. So again, you need to be. There are some phrases you need to be careful of. So if someone says they're a Dragon Lord or they're from a dragon lineage, a lot of the dark nobility call themselves dragon lineage now.
Okay.
But it's dark consciousness, so just be wary of that one. It's a lovely thing to call yourself a dragon lord, but actually they may not be quite what you think. So yeah, let's go to the dragon energies next, which are you know, part of the Templar, the dragon energies in the land. You know, they're terrestrial energies that run through the land, and you might think of those much like the meridians that we have in our body.
Okay.
You know, the kind of energy network that we have that runs through our body, that nourishes and distributes the energy throughout our body into organs and things like this. So
Fascinating.
those
Are
are
they similar to ley lines?
yeah, ley lines. Yeah, I mean, yeah, or the grids. Another, you know, some people use ley lines as just the term ley lines to mean just a straight energy connection to the land, within the land, between, you know, maybe sacred sites or sacred objects or something like that. But actually the expanded understanding of that is this energy grid that nourishes the earth, basically, or energy grids. There are various grids, because there's a horizontal grid, there are vertical grids, and there are specialist grids in certain areas. And then we have had, I don't know if we've talked about this, I can't remember if we've done anything on the grids, but then, you know, the fallen races have come in and they've put their own grids in certain areas. These are artificial grids that they put in. Okay. You know, to deflect, to digress, to reverse, to just basically muck things up hugely, so that, because we've talked about this before, you know, the human body is encoded and tuned in to the land, to the energies that run within the land. So earth consciousness and human consciousness very much reflect each other. If they can digress and maim and mutate the earth consciousness through taking control of grids, through reversing energy flows within grids, through blocking vital nodal points or suppressing things or mutating things, whatever, within the earth grids, they affect earth consciousness and they affect human consciousness.
Okay.
So yeah, and a lot of work, huge amounts of work have been done. And those of you who are grid workers out there, you know, I don't need to tell you this, huge amounts have been done at so many levels in restoring the earth grids, because restoring the earth grids helps restore our DNA and our consciousness.
And how is this linked to, I've been hearing a lot at the moment about the Schumann resonance.
The
Even just
human resonance is slightly different. It's basically, yeah, it's kind of, you've got the Earth's surface, and you've got the top of the I think it's called the ionosphere, what you might call the atmospheric dome, and the
Mhm.
Schumann resonance is the
bounces between it.
yeah. And that is, I mean, that's been sort of increasing quite dramatically for some years now, and we get these great bursts of frequency coming through, and that really is reflecting the great flows of cosmic energy. I keep talking about you know the waves of cosmic energy, the ever higher frequency waves of cosmic energy that are affecting us here.
Mhm.
That's being shown in the Schumann resonance, which is
Okay.
kind of, yeah, affecting all of us. Where were we? We were talking about dragon energies. Now, there's I mean, we've got ley lines all over the place, and there are different kinds of ley lines or dragon lines or whatever you want to call them. Different sizes, which reflect possibly different aspects of different grids and things like that. There's a huge amount of work being done on this by a dowser named Rory Duff, who's put together a small booklet. I don't know if you can get it on Amazon. Certainly if you go to his site, roryduff.com, you can find information there. But he's classified different types of ley lines and nodal points according to their size. And the biggest, they go from 1, which is the smallest size, up to 5, which is the largest size. And the largest ones are called the Emperor Dragon lines.
Oh, okay.
They only appeared on this planet, or started to appear, around 2012. And they are, my understanding of them is they are part of a spectacular grid, which I may or may not have mentioned in the past, which is called the Four Faces of Man grid. And it's one that the Guardian races, the Christos races, tried to get in place before the last stellar activation cycle, and failed because there was a huge massacre of those who came here to do it. But they've achieved it this time around, and the purpose of that is to stabilize, absolutely stabilize, not just our time matrix, but the parallel Earth and the inner Earth time matrices as well, and the pillars of energy that it brings through, or the energy it brings through and brings into the Earth, traces all the way back into the God worlds. So once this grid was in place and up and running and fully functional and fully activated, there was, you know, the fallen races are game over. There's no messing about with it. They don't.
Really, and that's been done.
And it's, yeah, I mean, the last aspects of it, it's come in slowly because the Earth herself has not been able to hold full resonance for a long time. So it's had to build and build. And Rory traced, and I'm hoping one day he'll write about all of this, because you know, I love picking his brains about it, but there's so much more I'm sure he hasn't told. You know, the stories he hasn't told. These that is it 5 or 6 pairs? I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. But these pairs of lines came in slowly, bit by bit, and with the last ones coming in, was it about 2018, 2020, something like that, fully anchoring into the Earth, you know, because they loop around the Earth. And when I say pairs, they're male female energies. So if you know anything about these lines, you can draw out an alignment as a straight line, but much like we have male female energies moving within us, the same thing moves within these ley lines, and they twist and turn, and you know, snake across the land, as it were, noding at various points. So the male female energies node, move on, node, move on, node. It's that's this movement across the land. So these pairs of lines sort of came in, and there are certain points where the lines themselves cross other lines. So those are emperor dragon nodes, very, very special places. Rory has given various presentations about this. I'm sure there's a lot of information that he hasn't shared with people. I've been very fortunate to go to, most of the nodes are in the sea. Very interesting. Most of the nodes are in the sea where they can't be interfered with, but there are, I think it's 4 on land. And the closest one to where we are here in the UK is actually in Spain.
Spain, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
in Spain. And I've been fortunate, along with a very small group, to go to that one and work with that one, with Rory. And we also, I was going to say camped out. We were in a hotel for the time that we were there. We spent a week in a hotel, which was absolutely engulfed by this dragon line. So we spent a week absolutely just vibrating to this energy. I came back, I can't tell you, I was beyond high,
And
beyond.
is there any conscious awareness in the area that they're in such a special place?
Um, I don't know, to be frank with you. I would be very surprised if it wasn't affecting the people, particularly those who were moving themselves, out of the 3D energies, who were, because I mean, I came back blown open. My ability to hold frequency, run frequency, things like that, after I came back was expanded to such a huge degree, such a huge degree. It really was.
And
Um,
did you notice the hotel felt particularly good, or was particularly a successful or well-loved hotel? Like, was it vibrating at that level, or was it much more subtle than that?
it was more subtle than that. Yeah. And we went during we managed a window between COVID lockdowns.
Oh, wow.
And the way the universe works. I mean, there's whole stories here, and I'll tell them all at some time. But yeah, we kind of like snuck in and snuck out in this little window of time where between the English government and the Spanish government, people were allowed in. And literally, as we were driving back to the airport, they were putting up roadblocks.
Wow, that's amazing. So that was your experience of an emperor dragon node energy.
Emperor dragon
So
line
that's
and
where
emperor
the
dragon node. A node is where the emperor dragon node is where
crosses.
two dragon lines cross. Yeah.
Okay. So
Uh,
two of the twisted masculine and feminines cross with two more
yeah.
of the twisted.
You
Ah,
can imagine incredibly powerful.
yes.
Yeah. And the group of us who went still meet. We meet regularly every week. It was an incredibly bonding experience. So yeah, and the work we do and the consciousness levels we work at have just continued expanding as a result of that. So interacting with the dragon lines, the earth energies, the ley lines, the grids, where however you want to phrase it, can be a very expanding experience
Yeah.
from a consciousness point of view. And we are now at a period of time, there is so much frequency coming into the earth, coming in through the lines into the grids, that we can go to. I mean, the ancients, marked a lot of the spots where lines node with stone circles or sacred sites and things like that. By visiting these sacred sites and just sitting quietly in meditation, tuning in, you can really benefit from the fact that the ancients knew where to put these things, and you just need to go and turn up and sit there and tune into it, tune into the energies. Yeah, it's very can be very uplifting and very expanding on the consciousness.
So now that people are hearing this, these words come from you and listening to this discussion, they may, for example, you feel perhaps feel drawn
Yeah,
to explore this further or to take themselves to sacred
yeah.
sites. Or
A
it's so
good
strange. I must show you this book. So my daughter just recently bought me a book, and I don't know if this is any good or not for the purposes of this, but just a
oh,
sacred Britain book.
yeah, that looks interesting. Yeah,
Accessible book for
yeah.
people to just It has all of the sort of, key religious buildings and, bath spa and,
Yeah,
aviary and all these kinds of things. And that's likely to be, from what you're saying,
yeah.
sorts of places where these nodes might be.
Yeah, because what happened is, the ancients would mark them with, their sacred groves or temples, whatever it was. And then along come the Christians, they put their churches up on it, they put their cathedrals up on it. And in some cases, the energy has been very badly abused. In other cases, the energy is still very intact.
Okay.
Or you can go into some cathedrals and the energy is absolutely uplifting because so many people have been going in and worshipping with the right intent.
Okay.
That even though the overlay of the Christian church is really not that salubrious, the Christian church, the Roman church, the Church of England has some very mucky stuff under its nails. But the congregation doesn't. It goes with the right intent. So yeah,
And the node itself remains intact, I guess.
yeah, it tunes into that intent. And where churches have been used and abused, and some have been used for satanic worship and all, nasty stuff like this, where it's been very abused, the node moves itself. The energy takes itself more away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So actually all their shenanigans, if you like, are
Yeah.
not in a sweet spot after all.
Yeah. Not every node is found where you might expect it to be because something very nasty's gone on there. And it's not just satanic stuff. It can be where there were massacres that took place, or capital. They used to have great shows of capital punishment and things like this. Really nasty stuff, dark stuff taken place. And if that was a nodal point, the node will move itself away from that stuff because it's out of resonance with it.
Okay, this is amazing, Sarah. So tell us now, have we reached the bottom layer of the dragon
Well,
stuff? Or is there another sort of iteration?
maybe we could talk about some earth energies and things for ages because
I
it's
know, it's such a, I feel
I
like
love.
it's a separate thing.
But we've still got elemental dragons, and I'm aware of time, so I'll move on to elemental dragons. And elemental dragons, I will be very frank with you, it wasn't up until relatively recently, probably now we're talking probably about 10 years ago, that I would have said the elemental dragons, your typical dragon stories, were anything other than stories. But I met my first dragon quite by accident, totally unintended, wasn't looking for it at the time, was really kind of like, eek, what do I do, when I saw this great dragon body. Would you believe it, in Windsor?
And literally, I've driven back from there today.
Yeah.
Sarah, I think I passed this morning on my dog walk the site where I think you met your dragon.
Yeah, because I've told you about it, haven't I? Yeah.
Yeah, you have. And
Yeah. Yeah. And I just tuned. I was there doing earth energy work with a group, and just wasn't called to go into St. George's Chapel as other members were. And so I just sat outside, found a place outside the castle walls and just tuned in, and got taken straight down to this dragon being who was guarding the node, because Windsor Castle is built on a node. Why would it not? PowerPoint claiming, I mean, that's one of the other things that happened. Certain royal lines, shall we say, that have knowledge of geomancy, had knowledge of these powerful points,
Yeah.
built their houses, built their castles, built their palaces on these powerful points, because it's
Makes sense, right?
claiming. Absolutely. Yeah. So,
And so the meeting was something that felt very ethereal or very kind of literal.
very literal. It was very solid, and it was huge. And I was like, I was standing, I found myself taken straight down, standing by it, and it was literally sleeping. This huge beast was sleeping, and I was like, God, can I creep away before it sees me? was my first response, because I just didn't know what to make of it at all. And then it opened its eye, and it was kind of like, what are you doing? I mean, it was a surprise to see me. This was the funny bit. It was a surprise to see me as I was to see it. And we kind of sorted things out and had I mean, just the most amazing chat. And it told me so much, and it showed me so much. It was such a teacher at so many levels. But I've encountered other dragons since in various places and have various interactions with them and learned so much. So, the elemental dragons are very real, and a lot of them hold nodal points. So most nodal points have effectively an elemental dragon associated with it of some sort. But then you have those that are literally the elements, fire dragons, water dragons, etc., etc.
Yeah.
There are different types of when we're talking about the elemental dragons, there are different types of dragons. So yeah, I've met a few in various cases. I'm sure people out there have stories, their own stories of dragons, and the dragon energy shows itself to different people in different ways. I mean, I some remote grid work that I was doing the other day with a group, the most beautiful dragon came in to be part of the work that we were doing, and it was the most exquisite coloring I've ever seen. So it's always worth kind of like just tuning into the color as well, and talking to these beings, because they have immense wisdom to teach us.
Well, I'm so intrigued. How would you recommend that we go about connecting with a dragon? Like, what is your tip for somebody who's like listening to this thinking, I want a piece of this? Like, I'd love to connect with that level of wisdom. What do we do?
Maybe start by going to a nodal point. As I say, I'm probably not the best person to ask on this, because it's all,
As a woman
I've
who's
never particularly gone looking for it, if you know what I mean. I mean, I live relatively close to uh, what do you call it, the Elan Valley, the big reservoirs in Wales.
okay.
And I was up there one evening, just very quietly, contemplating. I was looking across one of the big reservoirs at dusk, and this huge, great aqua dragon appeared in the
Wow.
sky. A massive, massive, beautiful aquamarine dragon appeared and dove into the waters. And it very clearly wanted me to see it, because it made sure that it didn't, that I saw it before it moved. So there are times that they'll make themselves, I think, that was maybe part of my learning, part of the learning curve I had about dragons.
Yeah, I mean, you've got me thinking now, because I'm thinking when you said about that reservoir dragon, I thought, well, maybe that's the Loch Ness monster, right? It could be a dragon. It
Yeah,
could be dragon energy that somebody
yeah,
saw.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Once you understand that there's our own elementals. I mean, it sounds to me like anything that we talk about, that once you've had your head turned towards the
yeah,
conversation, that you can choose to take this further with an energetic permission to
yeah,
yourself to do
yeah.
so.
But if you, as I say, my first experience was on a nodal point,
Right.
and tuning into a nodal point. And maybe if you sit there, and you've got to be humble. These are mighty beasts, very, very ancient, incredibly ancient. Um, you don't go in the big I am. So yeah, just ask and sit and wait and see if one of them will come to you.
That sounds gorgeous. I love the fact that that would make sense why we don't all of us just encounter dragons every day. It's just kind of like they don't feel the need to appear in that way, that they are so wise, so huge, so
Yeah,
grounded, I guess, in their own
yeah,
sense of selfness, that they
yeah.
don't need to appear every 5 minutes to us.
I mean, the most of the experiences I've had with them have been when I've been doing grid work. So they've appeared to help with that, or appeared as part of that. And that's because I'm a grid worker, and this is what I do. So why wouldn't they help when they can?
Yes, makes sense, doesn't it? You're kind of in their wheelhouse when you're doing that.
Yeah, and you know, the interaction between us benefits, you know, their function in the land, and the harmony of the land and things like that. So we're all working together, singing off the same hymn sheet, as it were.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you know, finishing on a bum note, really, there are, you know, we have in the West. Well, if you think about the East and you think about the West, in the East they tend to be very sinuous, snake-like dragons. And
Hmm.
on the whole, they're seen as being very benevolent. In the West, most of our stories, you know, of dragons are dragons that rape and pillage and steal sheep and want virgin maidens and things like that.
Hmm.
And that, to me, I've come to understand is that you know, this is the fallen Draco races.
Okay,
The
interesting.
stories that we tell are of dragon beings, physical dragon beings, who are the fallen Draco. There was one species of Draco who are very saurian.
Okay.
So you know, they would be described as what we would call a dragon, and they are nasty, which is where, you know, that so many of the Western dragons have this bad rep, as it were.
Interesting. So
Again,
for
you know, just because it's a dragon, don't you know, oh God, because it's a dragon, you know, tune into it. Just make sure it's not one of these nasties. Yeah.
there are good dragons, there are fallen dragons. And I wonder then why we in the West seem to be so much tuned into the Draco type. Is it because there are fewer of the kind of more benevolent versions in our neck of the woods, or
I would sort of say it's because the Draco influence, we you know, certain areas of the world have fallen under certain alien fallen alien influences, and the Western lands have had a lot of Draco
oh,
Trump
interesting.
influence.
Okay.
I mean, we're seeing it. You know, I can pick out areas where Draco, the whole Draco overlord thing is still going.
Wow.
You know, it's
Places
still,
in the West.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. That you can find that Draco signature still. The actual dragon, so dragon lord energy, that's what they like to call themselves, the dragon lords, of fallen dragon lords, was very real at one time. I mean, the interesting thing is that it was something I only found out this last week. I was reading a book all about the Bible. For anybody who's interested, Paul Wallace has done some really sorry, Paul Wallace or Paul Willis, I think it's Wallace, has done some really interesting books, really looking at paleo contact within the Bible. They're called the Eden series of books, and he the book I've just finished, he's gone through the whole Yahweh character in great detail. And the interesting thing is there is a part, and you know, I haven't read the Bible end to end. I've read enough of it to sicken me. So talking about the Old Testament, and I sort of came away from it. But he puts in it a description that Yahweh gives us himself, and it's a dragon. It's a dragon.
Right.
Yahweh's description of himself is a dragon.
Okay.
Yahweh is nasty, nasty, nasty.
Okay, interesting. So again, with all these things, buyer beware with dragons. Us enough insight into, what a good dragon experience would feel like, and what a fallen dragon experience would feel like. And for me, you've given me, you sort of tickled that curiosity element of me of how maybe to connect, where maybe to find them, how to have an understanding of what dragon energy is. I mean, I think most of us just have seen depictions of dragons and we believe them to be mythical creatures, and that's kind of the start and the end of it, a bit like a unicorn. But this has sort of taken my consciousness levels deeper. So thank you so much. Is there anything else that we need to know before we wrap our whistle stop dragon conversation?
It is very much whistle stop.
Yeah.
I mean, just they're amazing beings. I mean, I don't tune into the fallen,
Okay.
you know, stuff that I I set my intent, I'm not going to be interacting at that level.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, if you do get an opportunity to interact with dragon consciousness, you're a very lucky person.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's a lot to be learned. There's a lot to be learned. And yeah, and it's incredibly uplifting. So why wouldn't you want to do it? And if they're prepared to come and make themselves known to you, yeah,
Consider yourself blessed.
totally.
Fantastic. Sarah, thank you so much. It's been fascinating to speak to you about this.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Wendy. And thank you everyone for watching. And no doubt we'll be back with more. Thank you.